Good evening and welcome, friends. In this edition of This Is Exclusive, our focus on sectarian violence in Pakistan, because a Kashmiri Shia group wants India to take it up with the Pakistani authorities. This targeting of Shia minorities in Pakistan, not the first time, but then perhaps for the first, that intervention is being sought from India. That's going to be our focus, as also another youth, sixth, dies in Russia's Ukraine war. Another Indian youth loses his life. Remember, this was a point of conversation between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin last month, but that continues, and that's going to be our another focus. Let me get you the headlines first.
Presenting by Royal Global University. Northeast can't wait. Padho, kuch bano.
Big move by the Yogi government as Uttar Pradesh Assembly passes amendments to anti-conversion law. Life imprisonment introduced against love jihad.
Later on. I have a meeting right now. I have a meeting right now. I have a meeting.
Can you please tell us something?
72 hours on since Delhi coaching tragedy, but AAP government runs away from taking accountability.
How is orchestrating this whole thing, bringing you these children this in such a serious issue? This is Delhi Minister. Delhi Minister
Saurabh Bharadwaj ducks, dodges and accuses the Republic of a biased coverage as we question him on his accountability in the murderous negligence. At least 107 killed in Wayanad landslides, hundreds trapped after roads swept away. Rescue ops underway. Major showdown in Parliament as Anurag Thakur attacks Rahul Gandhi over caste census. Rahul responds. Another medal for India. Manu Bhaker, Sarabjot Singh wins second one with 10-meter air pistol team bronze.
Presenting by Royal Global University. Northeast can't wait. Padho, kuch bano.
All right, we begin with the Russia story. Another Indian youth loses his life in the Ukraine war of Russia. A heart-wrenching story coming in from Haryana, where Ravi, a young man from Kathal, whose dreams of a better future were shattered by the brutal realities of the Russia-Ukraine war. Our exclusive report reveals the plight of his grieving family and the larger issue affecting many Indian youth, even as the issue has been taken up at the topmost level, with Prime Minister Modi raising it with President Putin. At last count, about 10 Indian youth who were waylaid and then rostered in the Russian war have come back, but still about 40 remain. Ravi, unfortunately, not going to come back. Let's look at the plight of the family.
These are the visuals of 92 years old Fullu Devi, grandmother of Ravi, whose tragic death news have left them in deep pain.
और याद तो आवेगा फायर पुलिस का रेडियाट बड़ा और याद भी नहीं आ करते इसका के एजेंट का है जोन सा ने हमारा गजू ढोली किला बेच का गए किल्टा था वो भी खो दिया हम तो जुगाड़ कराएंगे गिरबा की कौन सुनाई करा कोई नहीं करता.
The other visuals are of 45 years old Sahil, father, and Ravi's mother, who were on a continuous wait for their son to reach India safely.
भाई कह के भेजे तो भाई ट्रंक आउट करने हैं, सब सफाई करनी है, बस यही कह के भेजा था. कोई युद्ध याद का कोई चक्कर नहीं है, तनख्वाह सुथरी है, इसीलिए भेजा था. भाई काम धंधा मिल जाएगा उसको. उसको मम ने क्या पता था ना, उसको पता था भाई कि मैं उसमें मुझे आगे ले जाएंगे ट्रेनिंग में.
तो क्या ज़बरदस्ती उनको वॉर में भेजा गया, युद्ध में भेजा गया, ज़बरदस्ती उनसे साइन करवाए गए?
हाँ, ज़बरदस्ती में साइन करवाए गए और वहाँ से ले गए।
6 young men from village Mator in Kethal district of Haryana were lured by agents into the Russia-Ukraine war as they were made to see dreams of a good job. The Russia-Ukraine war went on to claim young Ravi's life. Ravi had been missing from the battlefield since March 12. The family members had appealed to the Russian government on various occasions, hoping that a search operation would be operationalized. Ravi's brother spoke to Republic TV. In this conversation, it was shocking to discover that Ravi was initially recruited as a transport sector worker but was later recruited to the army.
हमारा भाई बेचने के लिए हमने एक किला था हमारे पास, वो हमने बेच दिया था। और अब हमारे घर की आर्थिक स्थिति बहुत ज़्यादा गंभीर है, और जिससे कि हमारी जो टैक्सी ड्राइवर में तो इससे हमारा घर का खर्चा भी बड़ी मुश्किल से चलता है, जिसे और ना ही कोई मतलब ये जो मेरे भाई की दुर्घटना देख के कोई भी आर्थिक सहायता हो रही है हमारी भी, जो प्रशासन से या अभी मौके की सरकार से कोई भी आर्थिक सहायता नहीं हो रही है हमारी। तो मैं तो अभी भी यही गुहार कर रहा हूँ कि हमारे भाई की बॉडी और हमारी परिवार की आर्थिक सहायता करें।
Notably, in a big relief for the families of men recruited into the Russian military to serve at the war front with Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin had earlier accepted Prime Minister Narendra Modi's request to discharge those wishing to return to India. The big announcement had come after the latest bilateral meeting held between the two heads of states. This case is not an isolated incident. It's not just Ravi from Haryana or Tejpal Singh from Amritsar. Hundreds of youth have been trapped and lured for good jobs. As we reflect on Ravi's untimely death, one must ask, how many more young lives will be lost before we address the dangers posed by deceptive recruitment promises?
All right, we'll get to the Kashmir story in a bit, but let's get you another important development coming in from Uttar Pradesh, where the Yogi Adityanath government has brought in amendments in the anti-conversion law which already exists on the statutes, which brings in a clause of life imprisonment in case of love jihad being proven, and also makes conversion punishments even more stringent. Let's look at the debate that panned down in the Uttar Pradesh Vidhan Sabha and other related developments in connection with the Yogi government's move to toughen the love jihad law.
In a big move by the Yogi government, Uttar Pradesh government has proposed significant amendments to the UP Prohibition of Unlawful Religious Conversion Amendment Bill. One of the key amendments introduces life imprisonment for those found guilty of love jihad. The punishment for crimes previously defined in the bill has now been doubled. The bill now incorporates more offences that could lead to life imprisonment.
थोड़ा कठोर भी बनाया गया है। इसमें पहले एफआईआर केवल पीड़ित व्यक्ति कर सकता था, अब इसमें एफआईआर कोई भी व्यक्ति कर सकता है जो पीड़ित का सहयोगी हो, साथी हो। धारा 5(1) में कि 3 वर्ष से कम नहीं किंतु 10 वर्ष के कारावास से दंडित किया जाएगा तथा न्यूनतम 50,000 रुपए का जुर्माना किया गया।
Hindu seers have welcomed the move.
हम इसके पक्ष में हैं क्योंकि समाज के हित में है, और हमारा हिंदू समाज सनातन धर्म कभी किसी को बांटने की तोड़ने की बात नहीं करता, लेकिन बाकी सब समाजों में जो हो रहा है वो हम देख रहे हैं कि कैसे किस मानसिकता के साथ में हमारे धर्म को, हमारी परंपराओं को खंडित करने का काम और हमारे बच्चियों को महिला को सुलाकर उनके जीवन को खत्म करने का काम किया जा रहा है।
उत्तर प्रदेश के यशस्वी माननीय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के द्वारा जो विधानसभा में प्रस्ताव पेश किया गया, जिसमें कहा गया कि लव जिहादियों को अब आजीवन कारावास, बहुत ही सराहनीय और सुंदर कदम है। लव जिहाद को रोकने में एक प्रभावी कदम है ये।
The proposed amendments have been welcomed by the Bharatiya Janata Party.
देखिए, जो प्रदेश की हमारी बहन बेटियां थीं जिनके जीवन के साथ खिलवाड़ किया जा रहा था। निश्चित तौर पर इस कड़े कानून के बाद उस पर प्रतिबंध लगेगा और इस कानून के बनने के बाद भी अगर इस तरह का अपराध कोई करेगा तो उसको बड़ी सबक मिलेगी।
Samajwadi Party meanwhile slammed the Yogi Adityanath government for bringing these amendments. The Samajwadi Party calls this BJP's aversion towards a particular community. The amendment is likely to be passed in the assembly by voice note on 2nd of August.
Welcome back, friends. Pakistan is not just a terror factory. In fact, it is also a cauldron of sectarian violence, with Shia community particularly getting targeted in Parchanar district of Kurram Agency of Pakistan's northwest frontier. And the Shia community in India, particularly in Kashmir, is obviously disturbed. They held a candlelight protest last evening, and that was following a letter written by the Shia community's leader in Kashmir, Imran Raza Ansari, writing to External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and asking the government of India to intervene and save the human rights of Shia community in Pakistan. Ansari, in fact, would be joining me in a bit, but let's understand the basic facts through this package.
The Shia Association of Srinagar has reached out to EM Dr. S. Jaishankar. The letter draws attention to the ongoing community violence against Shias in Pakistan's Parachinar. Former Deputy Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Kavinder Gupta, also addressed this pressing issue.
पिछले दिनों जो पाकिस्तान में हुआ बड़ा निंदनीय है, उसकी घोर निंदा करनी चाहिए। किस प्रकार से उन पर गोली चलाई गई, मारा गया, ये असहनीय है। पाकिस्तान हालांकि अपने आप को मुस्लिम रिपब्लिक कहता है, लेकिन इसके बावजूद वहाँ पर अत्याचार होना ये पहली बार नहीं है। बलूचिस्तान, सिंध, कराची, इस प्रकार के अत्याचार वहाँ का रूटीन मैटर है। और उन लोगों को भी जो पाकिस्तान की वकालत करते रहते हैं, तो उनको भी इस बात से सीखना चाहिए। भाईचारा बना करके दूसरों को तो सिखाते हैं, कश्मीर के बारे में तो बड़ी बातें करते हैं, लेकिन ये मौलवी रजा अंसारी द्वारा ये जो उठाया गया है, भारत सरकार इस पर निश्चय ही विचार करेगी।
The association has urged India's urgent intervention into this grave matter. The letter highlights that Pakistan's apathy to the violence has given it a shape of extremism. It also suggests that India should summon the Pakistani envoy and hold them accountable over the escalating violence. The association has also demanded that the Pakistan government must deploy military forces to protect the Shia communities. The letter further demanded arrests and persecution of extremist leaders to prevent such violence in the future. Calling it India's moral obligation towards a potential genocide, the Shia Association's letter demands swift and decisive response from the Indian ministry.
Imran Raza Ansari, good evening to you. As President of the All Jammu and Kashmir Shia Association, you have written to the External Affairs Minister. What are your exact demands? This is not the first time Shia community is getting targeted in Pakistan. What made you make this call of writing to the government of India and demand intervention?
See, I am an Indian and I am a Muslim and I am a Shia. So whenever something like that happens to my Shia fellows all in the neighborhood or all around the world, I cannot go there and I cannot protest there. I reached out to my country's foreign affairs minister that we Shias who are living in India, we as subjects of the India, we demand from our leadership that at least they should call the failed state's ambassador who is sitting here in Delhi, who is enjoying in Delhi, while our brothers who are across the border, who are not only in Parachinar, I don't know if you know about the history, they are selectively killing the brain, the people who are the brains in our society. Like our engineers are getting killed, our lawyers are getting killed, our doctors are getting killed. Now the height is in Parachinar, there is a massacre going on. And I fail to understand that Pakistan being our neighbor, why doesn't India talk about it? Why doesn't India talk to them that why they are killing innocent people on the name of religion? Why is this genocide happening? I don't have resources that I can go and I can go there, but at least our minister can summon the Pakistani ambassador and ask him what is happening.
Yeah, this is not the first time
Shia is being killed.
This is not the first time anti-Shia violence is taking place in Pakistan. In fact, there seems to be a very organized machinery. There are organizations like the Sipahi Sahaba Pakistan, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, which are targeted at the Shia community.
That's right, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi and everything. So tell me one thing, India having such a strategic position in this whole Southeast Asia, can't India summon the ambassador or cannot we do something that, that we have some neutral force from United Nations which will go to these areas where the minorities are being, killed in a daylight, they are being beheaded, their women are being beheaded. Like where is humanity? I'm asking my government, like, why don't they speak? Yeah, I know it's been happening since 2011. I know that thousands of people have been killed. But in this age, in 2024, when, a small incident can be, known worldwide in a second, like we as India, as a powerful nation in this whole region, can't they have a say that why there's a massacre of humanity happening?
Would you, Mr.
in
Ansari,
your neighborhood?
Would you, Mr. Ansari, talk directly to the citizens of Pakistan through our platform and tell them that while in India you can have the Azadari or the Ashura procession in Srinagar, in Kashmir, it's not safe in Pakistan to be a Muslim?
It is not, because the fanatics who are this time who are ruling Pakistan, the fanatics who have entered into army, who are in every strata of the government, and they are like it's like their only aim is to kill Shias. Yes, Kashmir, not only in Kashmir, in Lucknow, in Hyderabad, in Bangalore, everywhere we have religious freedom. We have been, doing Azadari, and we have been taking out the processions and everything. Everybody in the world knows that. But I'm talking about Pakistan.
Yeah.
Can't we do something? Can't our people in Delhi do something that at least these poor people are saved? In Parachinar, in this whole Khurram region, only 500,000 Shias are living.
Right.
And they are being slaughtered.
Right.
Fair
enough. Fair enough, Mr. Ansari. Thank you so much. I don't know what the government can do, but we at least try to bring attention to this very important aspect of the kind of radicalization that has taken roots in Pakistan, where even a section of Muslims are not safe. And on that note, that's what we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive, friends. And we slip into a short break and do see and watch what's coming in Primetime Max at 8 p.m.